वनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजनरञ्जन यशोदा नन्दन व्रजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधे जय राधा रासबिहारी राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव भूपाय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाकचार्य स्तोत्र शत इस डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाकचार्य स्तोत्र शत इस डिवाइन ग्रेस श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नमाचार्य श्री हरदास ठाकुर की जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शत गोस्वामी प्रभुगण की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन गिरिराज महाराज की जय मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय श्री क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय कावेरी माई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी महारानी की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories and glories and glories and glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayanti Tade Nashtaprayeshu Madreshu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulam Kayatim Vinyat Patamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramanandam Mahavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, and we will continue our reading from fourth canto, sixth chapter, and the sixth chapter is Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. Now we will continue from text number 27 till 30th today. So 27, 28, 29, and 30. Just give me a minute to share my screen. But before that, okay, I think we will start with the verse and then I'll go back into the little background. Allow me a couple of minutes. I think it should take a couple of seconds to just load the page. Yeah, so our discussion will continue from Canto 4, Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is titled Brahma Satisfies Lord Shiva, and the text number is 27 to 30. While the text is opening here, I can open it on the other side. One second. I'll open the other text as well. It's easier for us to. We will be reading all the text. So I'll probably try and open all the text together so we don't have to wait next time when we have to. Okay. Tara Hema Maharatna Vimana Satasankulam Jastam Punyagna Stribhir Yathakam Satadidgan Tara Hema Maharatna Vimana Satasankulam Jastam Punyagna Stribhir Yathakam Satadidgana Tara Hema Maharatna Vimana Sata Sankulam Jastam Punyagna Tribhir Yatha Khanam Satadidganam. Word to word translation. Tara Hema of the pearls and gold. Maharatna, valuable jewels. Vimana of aeroplanes. Sata with hundreds. Sankulam crowded. Jastam occupied, enjoyed. Punyagna stribhi by the wives of the yakshas. Yatha as calm the sky. Satadit ghanam with the lightning and the clouds. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Shri Prabhupada, translation. The aeroplanes of the heavenly denizens are bedecked with pearls, gold, and many valuable jewels. The heavenly denizens are compared to clouds in the sky decorated with occasional flashes of electric light. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada. The airplanes described in this verse are different from the airplanes of which we have experience. The Srimad Bhagavatam and all the Vedic literature, there are many descriptions of Vimana, which means airplanes. On different planets, there are different kinds of airplanes. On this gross planet Earth, there are airplanes run by machine, but on the other planets, the airplanes are not run by machines, but by mantric hymns. They also use specially for enjoyment by the denizens of the heavenly planets so that they can go from one planet to another. On other planets, which are called Siddhalokas, the denizens can travel from one planet to another without airplanes. The beautiful airplanes from the heavenly planet are compared here to the sky because they fly in the sky. The passengers are compared to the clouds. The beautiful damsels, the wives of the denizens of the heavenly planets, are compared to the lightning. In summation, the airplanes with their passengers, which come from higher planets to Kailasha, were very pleasant to look at. Let's continue with text number 28. So I will go straight into translation and the purport of text number 28, 29, and 30th. Translation for verse 28. While traveling, the demigods passed over the forest known as Saugandhika, which is full of varieties of flowers, fruits, and desired trees. While passing over the forest, they also saw the regions of Yaksheshwara. Yaksheshwara is also known as Kuvera, and he's the treasurer of the demigods. In the description of him in Vedic literature, it is stated he is fabulously rich. It appears from these verses that Kailasha is situated near the residential quarters of Kuvera. It is also stated herein that the forest was full of desire trees. In Brahma Samhita, we can learn about the desire tree which is found in the spiritual world, especially in Krishna Loka, the abode of Lord Krishna. We learn here that such desire trees are also found in Kailasha, the residence of Lord Shiva. By the grace of Krishna, it thus appears that Kailasha has special significance. It is almost like the residence of Lord Krishna. Beautiful description of Kuvera's abode, beautiful description of Kailasha, and I'm sure on the corollary, it is also talking about how is the residence of Lord Krishna. We will continue our reading. Translation to 29th verse. In the celestial forest, there are many birds whose necks were colored with reddish and whose sweet sound mixed with the humming of the bees. The lakes were abundantly decorated with the crying swans as well as strong stemmed lotus flowers. Purport to 29th verse. The beauty of the forest was intensified by the presence of various lakes. It is described herein the lakes were decorated with lotus flowers, with swans who played and sang with the birds and the humming bees. Considering all these attributes, one can imagine how beautiful this spot was and how much the demigods passing through enjoyed the atmosphere. There are many paths and beautiful spots created by man on this planet Earth, but none of them can surpass this Kailasha as they are described in this verse. Let's move to the 30th verse. Reading from 30th verse, translation to 30th verse. All this atmospheric influence unsettled the forest elephants who flocked together in the sandalwood forest, and the blowing wind agitated the minds of the damsels there for further sexual enjoyment. Purport to 30th verse. Whenever there is a nice atmosphere in the material world, immediately there is an awakening of sexual appetite in the minds of materialistic people. This tendency is present everywhere within this material world, not only in this earth, but in higher planetary system as well. In complete contrast with the influence of this atmosphere on the minds of the living entities within the material world is the description of the spiritual world. The women there are 100,000 times more beautiful than the women here in the material world. The spiritual atmosphere is also many times better. Yet, despite the pleasant atmosphere, the minds of the denizens do not become agitated because In the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planet, the spiritualistic minds of the inhabitants are so much absorbed in this spiritual vibration of chanting the glories of the Lord that such enjoyment could not be surpassed by any other enjoyment, even sex, which is the culmination of all pleasures in the material world. In other words, in the Vaikuntha world, in spite of its being better atmosphere and facilities, there is no impure impetus for sex life. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.59, Param Drishtva Nivartate, the inhabitants of Vaikuntha are so spiritually enlightened that in the presence of such spirituality, sex life is insignificant. Om Tat Sat O. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 6, which says Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. Text number 27 to 30. Om Tat Sat Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurudmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Ladita Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So it's a beautiful description that is given here about the spiritual world, about Kubera's abode. It is also talking about Kailasha, which is also beautiful. And in the last verse, I think the 30th verse, Srila Prabhupada really hammers us, saying that despite having all this, you guys are not really practicing Krishna consciousness. Yeah, indirectly, Srila Prabhupada says that despite all these facilities available many-fold higher, the ladies, the matas in the Vaikuntha Loka are 1,000 times beautiful than what we see the matas here or the ladies here on the material world. But still, their minds are not agitated. The only sentence that Srila Prabhupada mentions is that is because I will read that reference 1 second. Because in the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planet, the spiritualistic minds of the inhabitants are so much absorbed in the spiritual vibration of the chanting of the glories of the Lord that such enjoyment could not be surpassed by any other enjoyment, even sex, which is the culmination of all pleasures in the material world. Very, very important statement for us to understand, saying that whatever we are experiencing here is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. And when we go to the spiritual world, when we become uh, liberated, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, when we go there, that tinge also doesn't touch us because we are absorbed as spirit soul. We are absorbed in we are so much so absorbed in the service of the Lord, in chanting the holy name of the Lord, that these things don't even disturb us. I know there was a question asked by a devotee saying that, I get disturbed by this life here when I see people, and I feel agitated about all this. And when this Prabhu who was explaining on the class, he said that is because we don't really have the absorption in chanting of the holy name, and that's the biggest reason for us not to, get fixed up or not get situated in that situation that we don't really think of any of these material things. Well, going back to today's discussion, I would also want to go back and see some of the things which, in the previous Sorry, let me just come back here. Well, we talk about the Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 4 Srimad Bhagavatam, as we all know, started with description of the fight that is ensuing between, I would say, misunderstanding. I would not call it as a fight. It was Daksha who actually created this environment in one of those incidents where Daksha does not give respect to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is the greatest of the devotee, and he does not get the respect that he deserved. And then he was insulted amongst all the devotees. But then Lord Shiva decides not to continue there, and he just leaves the assembly and goes out. At the same time, Mother Sati, she gets very disturbed. And there's another invitation which comes to her where Lord Shiva is not invited. And this invitation is actually not directly given to her by her father Daksha, but she gets to know that there is a big ceremony which is happening in my father's house, and I intend to be there. Is what is her thought. So she decides that she should be going there, and she requests Lord Shiva, saying that, would you like to really join me in this particular occasion, or would you like to join me in this festivities which are happening at my father's place? Lord Shiva says, so be it, Devi. If you wish to go there, please go ahead. So in chapter 2, we see Daksha curses Lord Shiva. And then in chapter 3, there is a discussion between Lord Shiva and Sati, which we just discussed, saying that Sati is asking Lord Shiva that if you would like to come and, be a part of this, if you desire to go. I remember those words very well. She says, if you desire, we can go. As we say, Matas are very smart. So she puts it on Lord Shiva, saying that if you desire, then we can go. But then this conversation happens, and Lord Shiva says, no, I think you should go. He's your father, and you should not miss this ceremony. You should go there. You should not miss these festivities. And then Sati goes there, and there she sees that there is nothing offered to Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is being insulted by Daksha. There is no oblations kept for Lord Shiva. And Sati finally decides to quit her body out of frustration of non-respect for Lord Shiva. So you see, Lord Shiva is such a great devotee. He's not disturbed by all this. And Mother Sati quits her body, cursing her father, saying that you have not respected a Vaishnava. So the fault of, or I would say, the happenings of not respecting a Vaishnava can be very, very dreadful. So we should avoid any Vaishnava aparadh at any cost, knowingly or unknowingly. And if one commits a Vaishnava aparadh knowingly, he should or she should go and surrender to that devotee and say, I'm sorry, and I would not want to repeat it. And if it is happened unknowingly, also one should go and beg apologies, beg forgiveness. And sometimes I heard this in one of the classes where it may be very difficult because of our ego. We are all uh, we are on this material world, and we have a big ego, which the false ego. If one is not able to go and apologize in public or apologize to the person, he can at least do, in mind, manasika apologies can be given. So to reduce the effects of the Vaishnava aparadh that we see. In the next chapter, chapter 5, we see frustration of the sacrifice of Daksha, and the whole arena is actually destroyed by the followers of Lord Shiva, and they also behead Daksha and give him the head of a goat. So this has been the conversation. And in this chapter, that is chapter 6, where we see Brahma comes to satisfy Lord Shiva. And again, there's an extended discussion which actually happens between Brahma and Shiva. And Brahma feels that Lord Shiva should let it go. And Lord Shiva, actually, if you see, Lord Shiva is very, very merciful. He can be pleased by even the smallest of the things. And the smallest of the things can be, and that's the reason he is also called Ashutosh. Ashutosh is somebody whom you can please very, very easily. And here, Brahma comes here to tell him that I think whatever has happened has happened. I think you should forgive everything and then, just settle down things. As the chapter suggests, the name itself is that Brahma comes to pacify or satisfy Lord Shiva. Let's see a couple of shlokas from this from the beginning, because today we are reading from 27, 28, 29, and 30. I thought we should just go into a little details of what we've done in the last couple of weeks. This is for my own personal benefit and for the benefit of all those devotees who've not been able to attend the classes. So let's look at some of the shlokas. Sorry, it's just taking a minute for me to open the. Okay, chapter 6 is open. So Brahma here starts with that, members of the sacrificial assembly and all the demigods having defeated by the soldiers of Lord Shiva. And, they were actually attacked with weapons like trident and swords. They go back to Lord Brahma with really great fear. And after offering his obeisances, they again speak in detail of whatever has happened, whatever has really happened at the sacrificial arena. So one thing to be really known here is Brahma and Vishnu and Shiva. All the three were not there in this. Shiva, for obvious reason, that he was not invited, so he did not go to this sacrificial arena of Daksha. And Lord Brahma and Vishnu knew that what is going to happen at this sacrificial arena. That is the reason they did not go to the sacrificial arena. And then when Lord Brahma heard everything, though he knew what is happening, but he still wanted to hear from the demigods and the members who attended the sacrifice. He says very clearly again, this shloka is very important, or the statement is very important. He says, you cannot be happy in executing a sacrifice if you blaspheme a great personality. Yeah. And thereby offending his lotus feet, you cannot have the happiness in that way. So Lord Brahma is clarifying here the doubt, or he's making it very, very clear, saying that if you blaspheme a devotee or a great personality, you can never be happy. This is a statement of the Shastras. Yeah. And then he says that you excluded Lord Shiva from taking part in the sacrificial arena or in the results, and therefore you are all offenders at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. Still, if you go without mental reservation and surrender unto him and fall down at his lotus feet, he will be very pleased. Lord Shiva, as I gave you the example earlier, that he's Ashutosh. Ashutosh is somebody, even if you go and do something very, very small or do a very small service to him, very menial service to him, he becomes very satisfied and he offers any boon that you want. And Lord Brahma also gives this warning, saying that Lord Shiva is very, very powerful. And by the power of his anger, all the planets and all the chief controllers can be destroyed immediately. So that's the kind of, we've all heard of the third eye of Shiva, third eye of Shiva. If it opens up, then it's going to be very, very difficult. So also said Lord Shiva is especially sorry because he had recently lost his wife. Mother Sati was lost, and he was very afflicted by the kinds of unkind words of Daksha. Lord Brahma suggested that it will be actually very nice that if they go at once and beg his pardon. And Lord Brahma also says that even Indra doesn't know the power of Lord Shiva's, how powerful Lord Shiva is. And in any circumstances, they should go back to Lord Shiva and beg his pardon. So as we move forward, the description of Kailasha is given. Kailasha is full of, all kinds of valuable jewels and minerals, and it is surrounded by all kinds of valuable trees and plants. It's one of the most beautiful area that you can really see. There are many waterfalls, there are mountains, beautiful caves in which very beautiful wives of the mystics are found. And on Kailasha, there's always, rhythmic sound of the peacocks, the sweet vibration of the humming bees, the chukus, and all that is continuously going on. despite all this, Lord Shiva is never afflicted. Lord Shiva is not disturbed. And the whole of Kailasha is generally decorated with various kinds of trees, which are always following names may be mentioned as Mandara, Parijata, Sarala, Tamala, Tala, Voidara, Asana, Arjuna, Amarajati, Kadamba, Dhuli Kadamba, Naga, Punanga, Champaka, Patala, Ashoka, Bakula, Kunda, Kurubaka. So all these are different varieties of trees. Some of them, I'm sure we have also not heard of. Forget about seeing them. So these are all beautiful trees which are actually there in the hills of Kailasha. And there are golden lotus flowers, cinnamon trees, the Malati, the Kubja, Mallika, Madhavi, all this are there. Kailasha Hill also is decorated with trees like Kata, jackfruit, julabara, banyan trees, palakshas, and the trees which actually produce asafoetida. So, betel nuts, Bhurjapatra, Rajapuga, these are only can be actually in this material, we can only just think of it, only in Manasik you can think. Such beautiful places, this, Kailasha. Not only that, it has beautiful trees, it has also varieties of animals like deer. And in deer also, there are many varieties of deers. Yeah. So in animals, you have deer, monkeys, boars, lions, selekas, forest cows, forest asses, tigers, small deer, buffalo, many other animals, and they are fully enjoying their life. And there's a beautiful small lake which is called as Alakananda. I'm sure all of us have heard of Alakananda, in which Sati used to take bath, and this lake is especially auspicious. All the demigods, after seeing the beauty of Kailasha, were struck with wonder at the great opulence that was found there. Why all these descriptions are given here is for us to understand that Lord Shiva, we see that he doesn't have a house, he doesn't construct a house for himself, but his abode, which is Kailasha, is more beautiful than our any other place that we can even think of it. Yeah. And this Alakananda is the pond, small lake, and there is a place known as Alaka, the forest. Uh, it has forests like Saugantika, which means full of fragrance. The forest known as Saugantika because of its abundance in lotus flowers. In a forest, lotus flowers are coming. Yeah, think of this. And then there are two rivers there in Kailasha, Nanda and Alakananda. Okay, these two rivers are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. That's the importance of this. And in this particular place where you have Nanda and Alakananda, all the celestial damsels come down in those rivers in their airplanes with their husbands, and they enter into the water and enjoy sprinkling their husbands with water. That's the way that they do their pastimes. And after this, damsels and the people from other planets come here. They after they bathe into that water, the water becomes yellowish and fragrant due to the kumkum of their bodies. The elephants come there after that and bathe their wives. And the she elephant, and they also drink water, although they are not very thirsty. So that's the description so far. And today, what we were talking about was about the aeroplanes that of the heavenly denizens. We talk about the advancement of science, and then we say, we've got Jumbo 360 and A320s and A340s and double deckers and all that. These are all very common things in the spiritual world. And they travel, their aeroplanes don't even need machines. By mystic hymns, mystic shlokas, their aeroplanes actually fly. And they are bedecked with valuable jewels. The heavenly denizens are compared to clouds because they fly in the sky. And this aeroplanes that we are talking about, they pass over various forests, like we discussed about Saugantika. Saugantika is always full of fragrance, and it has varieties of fruits and flowers and desire trees. Yeah, and then they pass over the place called Yaksheswara. This is the celestial flower where the birds, their necks are colored with reddish and a sweet sound mixed with the humming of the bees. The lakes are abundantly decorated, while crying swans as well as the strong stemmed flowers are there. So, the whole idea of the sloka that has been given is saying that despite all this opulences, they are not disturbed. Lord Shiva is never disturbed. The denizens of those places are also not disturbed. And in this forest, in the last shloka that Srila Prabhupada gives the description on the 30th shloka, he says that despite the pleasant atmosphere, the minds of denizens do not become agitated because in the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planet, the spiritualist minds of the inhabitants are so much absorbed in the spiritual vibration of the chanting of the glories of the Lord that such enjoyment could not be surpassed by any other enjoyment, even sex, which is the culmination of all pleasures of the material world. Okay. And in Bhagavad Gita 2.59, Srila Prabhupada also makes it very clear, Param Drištva Nivartate. It means the inhabitants of Vaikuntha are so spiritually enlightened that in the presence of such spirituality, their sex life is insignificant. Today, if you see whatever, whether it is the human being or the animalistic society or the animals that we see, they're all running behind the sex life. The only intent people build beautiful houses is to have sex. They make so much of money just to have sex. So the culmination of the material pleasure or the materialistic pleasure is only sex life. And here Srila Prabhupada points, saying that it can be over and above that. There is something beyond. If we really look at the chanting of the holy name, if we take up to the chanting of the glories of the Lord and the enjoyment that we get in chanting of the holy name of the Lord can be surpassed by any other enjoyment. Yeah. So despite becoming very, very opulent, despite becoming all qualified with all kinds of arts and music and all of that, the denizens are continuing to focus their chanting of the holy name, which is very important. So this is where this four shlokas are today, where we discussed. And here Lord Brahma is actually giving this description to the denizens, to the demigods and all the people who attended the sacrificial Anira, which was destroyed finally. And Daksha was actually punished for what he did, and he had to really take the curse of that. So here Brahma is describing, saying that such is the beautiful abode of Lord Shiva, and he is very, very equipoised. He is, despite having all this facility, he's still, wearing his own. We've all seen he wears a tiger skin, sits on a tiger skin, has a matted hair. He has the snake around his, neck, and he has applied the bhasma all over his body. And despite having all the opulence, he's still always in the transcendental chanting of the holy name. And some of us would always think that, here in this shloka also, Brahma describes that the anger of Shiva can actually destroy all the planets, and it can also destroy the presiding heads of those planets. So that means Lord Shiva has that capability or the power to destroy the whole universe. But despite all that, when Daksha in the first time implicated him and did not respect him, disrespected him, second time when Mother Sati, commits suicide, that is because of the words of Daksha, he did not get agitated at all. So this is something that we really need to see, that he is equipoised at all the times, in happiness, in distress, in whatever we do. So a very important learning that we should understand is that the chanting of the holy name is the most important part of our life. And if we focus with a single mind onto the chanting of the holy name, all the pleasures of the material life, you will not even want to take them. So that's the one part of the learning. The second part is we should all become equipoised like Lord Shiva, whether in distress or in happiness. He's always thinking of the holy name of the Lord. And despite having all the material opulence that one could think of, despite having all the facilities that one could think of, Lord Shiva is never disturbed. He continues to be doing his service. He continues to be in whatever state of mind he is, always thinking of the holy name of the Lord and always praying at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are two very important learnings that I share from this words that we discussed today, and you'd like to, conclude the class here. In case if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them. If there are any corrections, I'll be ready to accept them. And if there's anything that anybody wants to make a comment, I'm happy to accept it. So if there are no questions, then we will end the session here. Thank you very much for joining this Srimad Bhagavatam class. Thank all the devotees who joined online as well, and thank the management in giving me this opportunity to speak something with whatever limited knowledge that I have. But with the mercy of Guru and Krishna, whatever I could understand, I have tried to speak here. Please pardon me if I've committed any wrongdoings or mistake while, reading about this class and discussing on this class. Thank you very much for your attention. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Ho. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavats.
Thank you. Thanks for Nectarian class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.